Hey everybody, this is Lousy,
And this is Backhand.
and you are listening to We've Been Drinking MMA podcast. We're going to get started here on the UFC 284 fight, our predictions, and basically our analysis of each fight. So the first fight is Alonso Menifield, Jimmy Crute. What do you think about this one, Backhand?
Yeah, Lousy, this is a light heavyweight showdown. It's the first fight on the main card. It is Jimmy Crute versus Alonso Menifield, and Menifield is 35 years old, and Jimmy Crute is only 26, so he's a spring chicken.
Yeah, big age difference. 8 years is a lot.
And the main difference in the fight, so I'm going with, you pick Jimmy Crute.
Jimmy Crute, and I would think smart money would be in the distance. Someone's probably going to get knocked out.
Yeah, this is one of those fights where I feel like both of them kind of put themselves in harm's way. So for me, I will go with Crute, but I'm not going to... This is one of those fights where I want to live bet it. Yeah. Again, the rest of the fight card, I have predictions for everybody, all the fights, and I'm going to put money on them going into it. But this one, it's just one of those fights where both of them have some good boxing, and they're strong boxers, like they have good power. And they both kind of leap in. Menifield leaps in even stronger, bigger leaps. But they both kind of go in aggressive, and they deal damage, but they also put themselves in harm's way. Not in a horrible way, but kind of in a bad way. They're exciting to watch. Excuse me, that's the beer. And so the thing is that for me, they both have about 4 significant strikes per minute landed. However, Jimmy Crute has 4 takedowns per fight on average.
That's huge.
So,
that's huge. Especially when Menifield does not wrestle.
Yeah, Menifield does not wrestle.
When he gets tired, he puts people in his cages, and he does gas out. Just watch that Devin Clark fight. You'll see that.
Right.
The first round, he gassed out. All he did was press him against the cage wrestler.
Man, 4.87. It's almost 5 takedowns per fight that Jimmy Crute gets on his opponents. It's just one of those things where that's why I want to live bet it. I mean, yes, I think Crute is slightly better, obviously, because he has more, significant strikes per minute, and then of course the takedowns, 5 takedowns per minute, where Menifield doesn't have any takedowns per minute.
Both have dangerous power.
Dangerous power.
This is gonna be a fun fight to watch in general.
Yeah, in my opinion, though, it's one of those things where if Crute cannot take down Menifield for whatever reason, the style matchup, then Menifield has a better chance to knock out Crute because Menifield has more power and he leaps in more aggressively and bigger leaps right at you like a jaguar. It's crazy, man, the way he leaps in. And that's why Menifield has so many KOs on his record. His finishing rate is ridiculous. If he wins a fight, he's only had 1 decision, meaning he's had like...
The later the fight goes, the more goes to Crute.
Yeah,
that's
so
all I gotta say.
Menifield has 13 fights, 12 of them have been finishes.
Yeah.
KOs, most of them with like 3 submissions, so he's basically all KOs. It just shows you his aggression is unmatched, basically in this division. Other than of course someone like maybe Jamal Hill, who's the champion. But so going with Crute ever so slightly, just because the all-around game with the takedowns. But I'm gonna live bet it, and Lousy's going with Crute.
Crute, and somebody's getting knocked out, so I'm going in the distance as well.
Boom. There you go. Hi, this is Backhand.
And this is Lousy.
And thanks for joining us. We've been drinking MMA. We're doing our predictions for UFC 284, Volkanovski versus Makhachev. This is the second fight on the main card. Justin Tafa versus Parker Porter. It's a heavyweight matchup. And I'm going with Justin Tafa, the local boy from Australia.
I'm going Tafa as well.
Yep.
He has power in his hands, and he's just a younger fighter versus an older fighter.
Doesn't he kind of remind you of Mark Hunt, bud?
Yeah. The way he just walks off when he does knock people out, it just 100% reminds me of Mark Hunt. Just throwing power, and he just knows what to do with it.
Yeah. I mean,
Parker Porter looks like a guy just walking straight off an oil rig into a UFC fight.
Exactly right. Like he looks like a guy, and he even fights like that. He fights like a guy who just puts in like 15 hours a day.
Yeah.
He's like a hard worker, like an oil mechanic type guy.
And this is side hustle.
Yeah. I would actually, you know what? It'd be fun to ask Parker, like what is your job or what was your job, while you were starting MMA. And if I bet he would say, I worked in the oil business, sir.
Yeah,
and we'd say Lousy has been predicting lots.
I knew it.
I'll tell you, like predicting. Lousy not only predicts fights, but he also predicts what people do for a living. That's his specialty. He's just great at predicting all around.
Carney.
He's got special Carney powers. All right, so
Eight year difference.
8-year difference. You cannot
with the
ignore
power in
that.
his hands, Tafa's gonna win this fight. So Tafa for the win.
Good night. That's it. No. So Justin Tafa, he's 29 years old, like Lazi said. 8-year difference, age difference. Parker's 37, and he's showing it. In his last fight, you know, he lost by submission to Almeida, but everybody does because Almeida's a giant freak of nature from Brazil, and he just takes people down and he has his way with them. But the second to last fight was a decision, so I got to really see a lot from him. It was against Alain Baudot, probably a French name, probably Canadian French. Anyways, doesn't matter where he's from. Parker looked okay in the fight. Parker likes to throw. First of all, Parker Porter and Justin Tafa are both boxers. None of them throw kicks, so it's going to be a pure boxing fight.
Straightforward.
Yes,
Tafa is standing throw.
Yep.
Parker is lunge forward.
Yes, exactly.
Step, lunge forward.
Parker Porter literally fights like a oil. He used to work on an oil rig. You know, he really has that hardworking oil business blue collar style.
Don't mess with me. I'm going.
Doesn't throw with a lot of power. The thing is that Parker Porter actually has an advantage as far as they both very similar reach. Height is again 6 feet, so right dead on again. But the difference is that Parker Porter has a 6.5 landed strikes per minute, and Justin Tafa only has 5 landed strikes per minute. But it's a complete difference in the quality of strikes.
Yeah.
And this is why we're both going with Tafa, and we're very confident. Even though it's a pick'em fight, it's really close on the odds. We both think Tafa because why? Because both of them are boxers. Both of them like to come forward. However, Porter does not counter, meaning Porter only comes forward. Whenever someone pressures Porter just kind of tries to get away but sloppily, you know, and he doesn't really throw counters.
Every punch from Tafa has his purpose.
Exactly. If you back up Tafa will throw really crisp boxing, like a guy where you go, oh, that guy can street fight. You look at Porter and you'll say, I don't know if he'd be great in a street fight. He'd be a good guy to have as a bouncer or like a wrestler type guy, type of build and his striking, his punching.
Not on my list.
But Tafa looks like he will kill 10 people if they came after him. Like he'd kill it. He'd beat 10 on 1. He would kill them all.
Yeah.
One punch, everyone would get knocked out quickly.
That's right.
So that's the difference. Is Tafa's each punch that he throws in his punch combinations are gonna land crisp and hard, right? And Porter, he might throw a 3-punch combo, but Porter's combos, like 2 out of the 3 punches are basically like just weak. And the thing is that his age has a lot to do with it. We talked about Glover Teixeira last week versus Jamal Hill, that Glover was loading up on his punches.
It matters with his reaction, and we're talking about heavyweight fighters with throwing punches. I mean, just takes 1 punch.
Exactly.
This reaction time matters.
So
Tafa for the win.
Yeah, Tafa for the win, man. Porter can back up Tafa, but Tafa can counter him. When Tafa goes forward and backs up Porter is not going to have the answers because his counters are almost non-existent because Porter's only comfortable going forward. So Porter is going to probably go forward and get really pieced up, really hurt by Tafa's clean counters. And Tafa's going to sit down on those punches and really make Porter pay.
He isn't my lock, but he should be.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal fight. Both going with Tafa. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Backhand again.
This is Lousy.
And thanks for continuing or joining us with We've Been Drinking MMA, where we're really drinking and we're really predicting the UFC 284 Volkanovski Makhachev card. This is the second fight on the main card. It's Jack.
Putting on analysis and putting our picks in there. Having a good time.
We like to put money on it. We like to drink. This is Jack Della Maddalena versus Randy Brown at 170 pounds. I'm going with Jack Della Maddalena for the win, KO.
I'm going Jack Della by KO, and that's my lock.
And you're probably asking, like, wow, they both said KO really quickly. They must be very confident. Why? And the reason is because it's the Jack Della Maddalena is 26 years old, and he's from Australia, so he's the home country kid in this fight. And it's the highest landed significant strike count per minute that I've seen and that Lousy has seen. It is 8.45 landed significant strikes per minute for Jack Della Maddalena.
That's a lot of punches.
That's a hell of a lot of punches. The only thing is that Randy Brown has a 5-inch reach advantage, and he also has a 4-inch height advantage. So it's going to be hard. Also, the leg reach.
Kicks are great.
The kicks are great. Randy Brown, basically, his advantage is that he's a striker, stand-up fighter, just like Jack Della Maddalena. But Randy Brown is more of a kick expert versus Jack Della Maddalena is more of a punch expert.
Yeah, Jack's last 3 fights have been won by KO in the first round.
It's an amazing record. The guy has just about 13 wins, and they've all been finishes except for one. And the last 3 fights have all been KOs in the first round. In fact, in the first 3 minutes.
That's
so,
right.
324 in the last fight.
Somehow Randy Brown gets out of the first round.
Yeah.
I mean, like, not that that's a big deal, but like if he does, it might be a real fight.
Yeah. It could be a little bit of a firefight. However, Jack Della Maddalena is minus 330. You know, a sizable favorite. You know, 75% chance to win, basically. So, you know, pretty heavy favorite here. And the reason we're really going with Jack Della Maddalena and we're willing to put the money on is because Randy Brown does have those kicks. He's got really flashy kicks, good front kick, teep kick to the stomach, good, you know, just crazy, you know, spinning kicks and things like this. However, when he goes forward and throws his punches to get in on his opponent,
that's when Jack can get in there.
Yes, Jack has phenomenal defense. Hardly takes any damage because he's got a phenomenal guard where he is. It's just hard to even touch him. It's just he's like a tank. Yeah. The way he comes forward, he's very guarded. Perfect defense, I would say. I've never seen this type of defense
Throws
in the
with
UFC.
A purpose. He's not just throwing the throw.
No, significant strikes.
Jack gets him out of there.
I would say he reminds me of a smaller Yair Prochazka as far as the heavy-handed.
I can see that.
He's so heavy-handed. Like he's super heavy-handed.
I like that a lot.
When he hits you with his punches, you hear a thud.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard that type of a thud since Prochazka.
A fastball, you know, catches it.
Oh man, it's amazing. And so the thing is that. Yes, Randy Brown is going to have some good kicks, but guess what? Jack Della Maddalena also has some good leg kicks of his own and does know how to create distance with his kicks. So it's not just a puncher in Maddalena. Maddalena knows how to punch and kick, but Maddalena just got crisp counters and just phenomenal, just head movement, and just knows like his shot selection and his recognition of when to throw the shot at the right time is honestly maybe second to none as far as his punches. It's amazing. 8 significant strikes landed per minute.
That's right.
8.5 actually. Rounded up, it's 9.
Incredible.
It's amazing. And the thing is, he's just entering in his prime. He's getting better from fight to fight, and that's the thing is that his counters are amazing. When he comes forward, he's amazing. Like I said, the recognition of when to throw the right shot at the right time. Any little change in movement in pace, he's gonna change up the tempo and move his body a little bit, and then get in position to throw another punch. And he'll throw the exact right punch, whether it's an uppercut or a hook or he knows exactly what to punch at the right time. It's scary. His vision for his boxing is absolutely impeccable actually. And it's large praise, yes, but he's a guy that I believe will be in the top 5 probably within the next 3 years. We're
going high on Jack.
I'm high on Jack just because I haven't seen that damage since Yair Prochazka, and Prochazka got his title shot after only 2 fights in the UFC. So if he can do that, then Maddalena can at least in 2 or 3 years break into the top 5 with this type of damage, and he's got defense which Prochazka didn't have. I'm not saying taking anything away from Prochazka.
If you knock people out, you're gonna get recognition.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of
the only thing Maddalena doesn't have that Prochazka has. Maddalena's punches are not as fast. Like Prochazka had the speed of the punches and the thudding heavy power. And Maddalena is the punches aren't as fast, but they still get delivered and they land. And that's why it's 8.5 significant strikes per minute. We're going with Jack Maddalena. Randy Brown, the kicks are good, but when he comes in a little sloppy. His punches are very sloppy because he's more of a kick expert. So when he comes in, his head is ready to get hit, and his punches are not very crispy. They're kind of lackadaisical and lazy when he comes in, but he comes in fast, so he can get himself into trouble with a crisp counterpuncher like Maddalena. We're going with Maddalena. Probably by KO, but
bad timing for Randy Brown.
Yeah, it's just
I like Randy Brown, but
me
Jack
too.
is just at a different level.
It's levels. It's tiers, like Lousy says a lot, and this is just truth. It's tiers to this, and Maddalena is going to be on the rise, and Brown is going to be a stepping stone. So Brown is a really good striker, but yeah, he's going to get a little bit exposed with that punching this fight. So
Jack for the win.
Jack for the win, guys.
So this is Lousy,
and this is Backhand again.
Welcome to the We've Been Drinking MMA podcast. We're talking about the UFC 284, and we're at the co-main event, Yair Rodriguez versus Josh Emmett.
Yeah, I'm going with Yair Rodriguez with this featherweight bout.
I'm going with Josh Emmett.
Yep.
Josh Emmett throws with intentions.
Bad intentions, big power.
Big. If
Wind,
you don't get
windmill
actual
punches.
damage on him, like actual put pressure on him and actually put damage on him,
He doesn't slow down.
He just keeps moving forward.
Keeps going.
Just like Sean Strickland's esque.
Yep.
Like he just keeps moving forward and keeps throwing.
Mm-hmm. He's built from a different cloth. Him and Strickland, these types of guys, you just can't put them out. If you don't put them out, they keep coming at the same pace.
Yeah.
They're wild guys.
Qatar and Ige know about Emmett's power and know
Mm-hmm.
about his pressure. If you don't put damage on him, it's a problem. So that's why I'm picking Emmett.
Yeah.
You can go the other way with Rodriguez because he's in his prime and it's not like he doesn't know how to fight here. So, what do you think there?
Yeah, man. Okay. You know, the reason I'm going with Yair is it's kind of simple. Emmett is a dangerous guy. Basically, their stats are very similar. Emmett is 5 inches shorter. That's the only difference. Yair has a 1 inch reach advantage, very close. They both strike at about a little over 4, like 4.3 landed significant strikes per minute for Emmett and 4.6 landed strikes per minute, significant strikes per minute for Yair Rodriguez. Very similar. And takedown average, they're both around 1 takedowns per fight. So it's going to be a stand-up war. The only reason really I'm going with Yair, you know, I like Josh Emmett a lot. I mean, his fight style is great. I mean, he comes forward, crisp punches, you know, 3-punch combinations, you know, but I do feel like in his last fight, you know, with Calvin Kattar, so Kattar's jab was working really well throughout most of the fight against Emmett. He was landing a lot. Like, I think he won the first 2 rounds. Even the third round he was leading, but then Emmett stole the third round, and then Emmett's heart just took him the rest of the way, and he won rounds 4 and 5 because Emmett keeps coming with power. And that's the thing. If you don't put out someone like Emmett, you're not.
Damage and put pressure on him.
You have to damage him. If you don't damage him, in fact, the only times he loses, he lost to Jeremy Stephens by KO. Lost to when that was like 2018. That's the last time he lost, man, 5 years ago. And then the 2017 he lost, which was like 6 years ago, and that was a split decision. Other than that, he's all wins. So this guy's a winner. You know, Emmett is a winner. And the only thing, though, is that he is susceptible to the jab big time, like that Kattar got on him. But again, like Lousy said, if you don't damage Emmett enough, he's just going to keep coming at you. You need to damage him. So it's not like a guarantee. This is not an easy win for Yair Rodriguez because of that. But Yair Rodriguez, basically in Emmett's fight, Emmett is solely punching. He's doing a lot of 1-2s, and Yair is doing punching and kicking. That's the main difference, man. And that's the only reason. And that's why Yair Rodriguez is a favorite. Just a slight favorite, minus 160. So it's very close, guys. It's basically a pick 'em. Slight favorite to Rodriguez, giving him, I guess, a 60% chance to win or so. So it's very close on the odds. I think also that Yair Rodriguez used to be more of a kicker. Yeah. You know, and you know, in his Holloway fight, you could see that Holloway's jabs and boxing just exposed Yair's boxing, and it was just Holloway just took over the fight, basically. Yeah. And Yair just was not comfortable enough with punching, and he was throwing kicks. He would throw some punches here and there, had a good slip 1-2 in boxing.
It seems like Yair is throwing punching to set up his kicks.
Exactly.
Which is huge in this fight.
You know, and the thing is, though, in his last fight against Ortega, even though it lasted only 1 round because Ortega's shoulder got hurt when they were on the ground, Rodriguez's jab, to me, in my opinion, my humble opinion, Yair Rodriguez's jab hit another level. He was flashing it out there like he's thrown it a million times. You know what I mean?
Peppering it out.
Oh god, it was peppering it out, and it was just like a beautiful flash. It was very quick. And I just think that when the way Kattar in Emmett's last fight, Calvin Kattar got away with that lightning flash jab, I think now that Rodriguez has developed that, even though it was such a quick fight with Ortega, I did notice that. And because of that jab now, Rodriguez is going to be able to jab Emmett a lot, get ahead on the points. On top of that, the other thing is that the kicks from Rodriguez, his kicks, he might be maybe the either top 1 or 2 best kickers in the UFC.
Yeah.
It might be. He's jumping kicks, you know, unbelievable. He's doing all these types of kicks, you know. I just haven't seen a guy like him, and now that his punching is good, getting there with his jab and everything, I just think that he is the next contender. The way I see him, I've seen him like that for the last 2 fights, especially the way he rematched Jeremy Stephens. He really, you know, showed that he was just much better than Jeremy Stephens, even though it was a close fight. And I used to think so much of Jeremy Stephens. Jeremy Stephens,
kept moving forward.
Dude, Jeremy Stephens dangerous, man. You know, and I thought that he was going to win the rematch, and Rodriguez pieced him up. You know, was able to punch and kick him and do whatever he wanted. A lot of kicks though. And now that his punching is there, I feel like you know, the punching, the jab is there. Emmett has a very wide stance. Josh Emmett has a super wide stance, I would say. Even though he goes forward and puts pressure, his wide stance is super susceptible to leg kicks. Yeah. And when you're going against a guy like Rodriguez is going to be able to find that leg so often. I'm not saying he's going to damage Emmett. Emmett's a tank, dude. He can take damage.
He's going to take away power because
exactly. What I'm saying, no, I think it's just going to be a point fighting. You know what I mean? Like Emmett, like we said, Emmett has only been knocked out by Jeremy Stephens, and Jeremy Stephens, like we said, is so dangerous with his power. Rodriguez doesn't have that type of power. Rodriguez could TKO Emmett, obviously, but I don't see that happening. Emmett is a tank. Emmett knows when to stop going forward if he's taking too much damage. If Rodriguez starts landing some really heavy 1-2 or 3-punch combinations, Emmett will back up. I think Emmett's a smart fighter. But when Emmett sees no threat like he did against Cavalcater, he will just come forward with because he knows he'll win the fight just with his power and damage.
So who's your pick again?
I'm going with Yair.
So I'm going with Josh Emmett, and probably a good bet would probably be going the distance.
Going the distance makes a lot of sense. Yair, to knock out Emmett is like something only Jeremy Stephens can do. Yeah. So I think going the distance is great, and yeah, it's just kickboxer versus boxer basically. That's the only thing about it. So
thanks for listening, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Backhand.
This is Lousy.
And you are joining us for the We've Been Drinking MMA podcast for our prediction. This is the main event of UFC 284, man. This is the super fight we've been waiting for.
Amazing fight here.
Oh, man. Islam Makhachev, who's the 155 lightweight champion, and he is going against Alexander, the great Volkanovski.
He's moving up.
He's moving up. He's moving up from the 145-pound champion. He's a 145-pound champion. He's moving up to challenge Islam Makhachev for his 155-pound belt.
I think Islam's going to keep his belt.
Lousy's going with Islam Makhachev, and I am going with Alexander the Great Volkanovski.
Why do you think that?
It's a crazy fight as far as the odds. I mean, Makhachev is almost a minus 400 favorite, 80% chance to win. What I think is that Makhachev is on a crazy win streak here. He hasn't lost in like 7 years. He got KO'd about 8 years ago, actually. This is 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Ever since then, he's won every single fight, and his last 5 fights, he has won by finish. And like dominant finishes, like first round, second round.
Some good names too.
Great names.
Moises, Bobby Green,
Drew Dober. He finished Drew Dober. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. He finished Drew Dober, finished Bobby Green with submission, KO'd Bobby Green, TKO'd him. Submitted Dan Hooker. Submitted Charles Oliveira.
Yeah.
Charles Oliveira was on a crazy win streak. He beat everybody that Khabib Nurmagomedov, maybe one of the greatest fighters of all time, who he beat. Oliveira beat the same guys. Oliveira destroyed Justin Gaethje, destroyed Dustin Poirier. I had a 50-50 fight with Chandler, but then ended up destroying Michael Chandler too. Yeah. He's basically destroyed everybody that Khabib destroyed, and then got destroyed by Islam Makhachev.
Yeah.
And that's why Lousy, I think that's why you're going with him, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
because he just finds ways to win and finds ways of finishing people. He sees openings.
Super solid. And he's smart, right? He doesn't put his head in harm's way. Like, he's learned so much after that knockout 8 years ago, that loss, that he's so smart. He really has learned a lot from his training partner, one of his best friends, Khabib Nurmagomedov, that you're going to win by grappling. You know if you wait for your punches, your counters, you can get them. You don't need to rush in. So stick to keeping your distance, and he's gotten really good at keeping his distance.
Wait for the opening and just attack.
He really doesn't have many openings to hurt him. Really. Yeah. The only openings I would say is that it's his boxing. And the boxing, really the openings happen because he might throw some 3-punch combinations when he really should be maybe just throwing a jab instead and not going forward too much. But the reason he can do that is because he knows if he gets close, he's just going to grapple you.
Yeah.
So he basically has no fear. He's one of the most fearless fighters we've ever seen, as far as everyone says they have no fear, but this guy fights like he has no fear.
He knows.
He knows.
He just knows.
He knows that if he misses with his punches, he's going to take you down easily.
Well,
he's from Dagestan, just like Khabib.
On the switch here, when's the last time Alex has lost? 10 years ago?
10 years ago. He lost.
The reason that is because he makes people fight his fight.
And by the way, that was his first year of fighting. First year of fighting, he got TKO'd back in Australia, and it was his fourth fight. He got TKO'd in the third round. Ever since then, he's gone on a ridiculous win streak. I think it's about 19 or 20 fight win streak.
Right.
And
people fight his fight.
Yeah. So the reason
That's just not going to happen in this fight.
What's up?
In my opinion.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen in this fight. He makes people fight his fight because he loves that leg kick. He loves it. He loves it just as much as Justin Gaethje loves his leg kick.
So I think Islam Makhachev has had no fear because he's been fighting people who are mostly subpar.
Yeah.
The people who he's beaten, who we talked about, was Drew Dober. Sorry, not subpar. They're not subpar, but they're not contenders.
Top 5.
They're not top 5. They're not top 7. They're guys who are maybe in the number 17 rank, and he's had his way with them. So he's looking great against them. But it's because they don't have wrestling. It's because they don't have good grappling defense. Bobby Green is a striker, as we know. He keeps his hands down. He is a pure striker. Drew Dober's a striker. Moises might have a little bit more grappling. Dan Hooker's a complete striker, a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
So the point is he's been getting these finishes against these guys in his last 5 fights because all of them are pure strikers with no grappling. If you have no grappling going against a guy like Islam Makhachev or Khabib Nurmagomedov, you're going to get destroyed in the first 2 rounds, and that's why it's been happening. Now, the Oliveira fight is a fight where Makhachev was great. However, Oliveira, in my opinion, first of all, Oliveira decided to, I think, clinch with Makhachev, and then Makhachev kind of took him down with like a trip or something like that. After that, in the second round, really, Makhachev didn't have his way with Oliveira on the ground, actually. What happened was that Oliveira was able to basically nullify the takedowns by just, being strong in the clinch and things like that, and it ended up being striking in the second round, and then Oliveira ended up going for a flying double knee, missed it horribly, and then Makhachev said thank you and just said 1-2 and just super solid counter and just knocked Oliveira down, and then after that he just jumped on top of him like he always does, and then he did the arm triangle choke, and Oliveira tapped right away, but it's because he was hurt from the knockdown, which he caused himself. So what I'm saying is that if you're going to say that that Makhachev is super dominant, I do agree that his stats are super. I mean, his win record is super dominant. But my point is, 4 of the last 5 fights, all of them are strikers. 3 of the last 5, all of them are strike. Those 3 are strikers.
I could see that, especially with who has Volkanovski fought, and it's always a top tier fighter.
Right.
Especially the last 3-4 years.
And Oliveira, the people that he beat, were all strikers.
Yeah.
You think about that for a second. Because the reason Oliveira beat Poirier, the reason he beat Chandler, the reason he beat all these guys is because they were afraid to go to the ground with him. So they were afraid to go to the ground with him, so he was able to stand up with them and use his long reach, long 1-2, and just his overall aggression to go. And he had a nice mix-up with his kickboxing.
I would consider Volkanovski a striker as well.
Volkanovski is a striker, but however, Volkanovski can wrestle pretty well, but he can get up from the takedown really well too. And the reason he knows how to do that is he knows how to shift your head and kind of move it, kind of shake it a little bit. Yeah. A lot of guys, they panic when they're on the ground. Pure strikers, they panic when they're on the ground. So even in the striking, they panic. So they go like, I can't throw my strikes because if I throw my strike, he's going to dip under my strike and then take me down. So that's why the strikers have a super hard time with Khabib, or really in this case, Islam Makhachev. They're so afraid on the feet, they can't even strike with Makhachev. And Oliveira was less afraid, but Oliveira messed up with a dumb flying knee. Now, what Volkanovski has is the ability to get up to his feet better than any of the fighters that Makhachev has ever faced. Now, Makhachev can hold you down, and that's why it's important to see the first round and stuff like that. But the reason I think Volkanovski can get up is because Volkanovski has gotten up from fights with Chad Mendes. Chad Mendes is arguably one of the best wrestlers to ever grace the octagon. Yeah. Took down McGregor at will, just like Khabib did.
And then he gassed out, but before that, he was winning that fight.
Yeah, but I mean, McGregor took a while to get up. He had to, elbow him, Mendes, and then get up after a while.
A lot. He was gushing blood.
Mm-hmm. So I would say Islam Makhachev's wrestling is better than Chad Mendes, but not that much better. Mendes in his prime, and that's when Volkanovski fought Chad Mendes, was in Mendes's prime. This was 5 years ago. Mendes was still in his prime back then. And, Volkanovski did get taken down twice, but he was able to get up quickly because he knows how to whizzer, meaning put his hand on your head, and he knows how to move your head side to side. A lot of people put the hand on the head, but they don't know how to move it side to side and use the body mechanics to really push off. Volkanovski
and
is
get your legs up. Yeah.
yeah, Volkanovski is gifted with understanding body mechanics, even on the ground, not just in the stand-up. So, in my opinion, I think that even if Makhachev, even Volkanovski said it. Volkanovski said it in an interview, and then we're going to take a little bit more time on this because this is the main event, and this is an important fight because this is a huge super fight. A lot of people are thinking Makhachev is going to win because he's a minus 400 favorite and he's looking so dominant. But in reality, this is what Volkanovski said. Volkanovski said a lot of these strikers who fight Makhachev, they're afraid to even go to the ground. So their striking is subpar against Makhachev because they're afraid. They're afraid to get taken out, so they can't strike the way they want to strike. Yeah. Now, Volkanovski said, bullshit. That's not the way you should strike. If you're confident that you're going to get back on your feet, who gives a shit about the ground, about getting taken down? That's why Volkanovski has a completely different confidence. If you listen to his interviews lately in the last month or two leading up to the super fight against Makhachev, Volkanovski has no fear of the takedown because he knows he can get back up.
You can plan better.
And it's unbelievable to have that confidence because Makhachev is so dominant in the wrestling. And so Volkanovski knows something that I think other people don't realize is that he's gone against Mendez and he's able to get up quite easily because he just knows how to do the whizzer and put the hand on the head and knows how to body positioning. So it's going to turn into a stand-up contest, in my opinion. I know a lot of people think Makhachev is super dominant, but Makhachev's timing with wrestling is important, but again, it's usually against pure strikers. Volkanovski can get up off the ground. Volkanovski can wrestle himself. But Volkanovski's not going to wrestle, but he can get up, he can take down defense, be able to, not take down defense, but getting up off the ground is amazing, actually. Pretty amazing. It's going to turn up into a stand-up fight. This is a situation where I believe Makhachev is going to get slightly exposed because Volkanovski is used to doing not just three-punch combinations going forward. He can do two-punch combinations with a leg kick, like he showed with the Holloway fight.
He loves that leg kick.
Amazing. Like he puts 4-punch combinations or 2-punch combinations with a leg kick, so three-strike combos. Going backwards, he can do the same thing.
But Volkanovski does expose himself with that leg kick. He does get those flash knockdowns, especially with that Holloway fight.
Yeah. The uppercut. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you are right. If this is stand-up fight only, it's going to be a problem.
And listen, I agree. Like those 2 fights ago, when he fought Max Holloway in that second fight, their rematch, he did get uppercutted 3 times. I think got flash knocked down 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
But guess what happened in their trilogy fight? Blanked him.
Yeah.
5 rounds to 0.
It was embarrassing.
So the point is that he's corrected whatever mistakes he made in that second fight, their rematch. He learned from them. Yeah. The trilogy, he was so flawless that Max Holloway destroyed Jose Aldo, who was the only champ for 10 years in the featherweight division until McGregor knocked him out. And then guess what? Holloway did to Aldo. Holloway owned Aldo, and then guess what Volkanovski did after in the trilogy? He absolutely owned Holloway.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about Holloway might have the best boxing in the UFC. How do I prove that? I mean, look at what he did to Calvin Kattar.
That was brilliant.
Calvin Kattar's jab is incredible. His boxing.
You remember what he was doing during the fight? I'm the best boxer in the league.
I'm the best boxer.
Not even look at
right? He said he's the best. He said he's the best boxer. And Holloway proved it because Kattar's boxing was really good. Kattar is really primarily a boxer with a jab, and he beat Giga Chikadze, who was fighting at a high level, killing people as a kickboxer, and then freaking Kattar destroyed Giga Chikadze, who was a rising contender. With boxing.
I was so sad.
Right?
I like Giga so much.
I thought Giga was going to fight for the belt. This is how good Giga was. And Giga probably still is, but Giga got destroyed by Kattar. Probably changed his career path. Yeah. And then Kattar got destroyed by Holloway with pure boxing. So what happened to Holloway? He got destroyed by Volkanovski. So we're talking about destroyed the guy who destroyed the guy who destroyed the guy, right? That's the type of thing that we're talking about. Like how good. So Volkanovski's timing must be impeccable in order to beat the guy who beat Aldo, who beat this other guy, who beat some other guy who's another contender, right? Like phenomenal boxing by Volkanovski.
A plus B doesn't equal C.
No, it doesn't.
But
it doesn't. But improvement. But bro, improvement.
He's shown every single time.
Improvement. Yes.
He comes up to the level of that. But like my pick is still going to be Makhachev.
Of course, Makhachev is great. There's no doubt about it. But what I'm saying is, I'm just putting out the facts that I think that now we start looking at the stand-up. We start looking at Makhachev's 3-punch combo going forward. Little bit punches, little bit sloppy, little bit not super crisp. right?
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But going backwards, his counters are solid. He showed that against Oliveira, so his counters are good.
Volkanovski has to keep it on the feet.
Yes.
If he does that, then it's a problem. But he has to do that.
Right.
And I don't think he's going to be able to do that.
So in my opinion, Makhachev sometimes is a little like his 3-punch combination is not very clean. Actually, his 1-2 counter is clean. He knocked down Oliveira. He showed that. His 3-punch
sets up.
Yes.
His punches to get to wrestle.
Right.
But
so
if Volkanovski can stop that, then
yeah,
you're right.
And I think Volkanovski also has the 3-punch combinations going forward, the 3-punch combinations going backward, with kicks going forward, the 3-4 strike combinations. He also puts his head in genius positions where he doesn't get touched. How can I prove that? Look at the Holloway fight. Holloway was one of the best pound for pound fighters for the last 8 years, and Volkanovski had a flawless performance against him. How? Because he knows how to throw a 2 or 3 strike combo and put his head in a position where Holloway can't really hit him. How is he doing that? It's because his timing is pretty much perfect. How is he doing that? It's because he's improved from fight to fight. He actually studies a lot of like all of his past fights, and he truly corrects all of his mistakes. He's a workhorse, and you can see his improvements because he is a genius, and that's why he's pound for pound number 1. Now, Islam Makhachev, if he beats Volkanovski, I think Islam deserves to be top 3 or 4 pound for pound, but because he is heavier, he's not going to become number 1 right away. Plus, you have John Jones and other guys. But the thing is that if Volkanovski beats Makhachev, he will cement his number 1 pound for pound status because John Jones has not gone up to heavyweight yet. He hasn't gotten that second belt. So the way Volkanovski is fighting, his head is not being put in harm's way when he's throwing 3-4 strike combinations. This hasn't happened in the history of the sport. Because nobody has the balls to do 3-4 strike combinations. Unless the only people that do that are reckless fighters. Volkanovski is able to do that, the 3-4 strike combinations, without being reckless by putting his head in perfect positioning. That means he's a genius. That's why he's number 1 pound for pound, and that's why I believe he will win this fight. It is a close fight though. I think it'll probably go the distance in my opinion because
distance actually is not bad.
Yeah, because the thing is that like Volkanovski can get up from the takedown from Makhachev. Makhachev's not going to knock out Volkanovski. I don't think Volkanovski is going to knock out Makhachev. Because Volkanovski doesn't do that anymore. He doesn't go for knockouts. Goes for 3-4 strike combinations and goes for distance.
Knock him out, but if Makhachev can use his wrestling and able to get him down consistently, it'll be easy to fight Makhachev.
Absolutely. It's a phenomenal fight, and Makhachev can counter, like we said, so it's going to be phenomenal. Makhachev is super fearless, and Volkanovski is also fearless because he is truly on another level, in my opinion. So, great fight. I'm going with Backhand's prediction is Volkanovski. The decision.
And Lousy's prediction is going to be Makhachev.
Awesome. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you. This is Lousy.
And this is Backhand.
And you are listening to the locks and parlays of the UFC 284. My lock of the night is going to be Jack Della Maddalena fight. My parlay of this card is going to be Tyson Pedro, Jack Della Maddalena, and in the distance between Jimmy Crute and Alonso Menifield. What do you think, Jack?
Nice. I like that inside the distance for that Menifield fight with Crute. Someone's getting finished. For me, my lock is just like yours. It's going to be Jack Della Maddalena. I just think he's got top 5, top 7 written all over him.
Ridiculous power.
Yeah, man. It's amazing fighter. 8.5 significant strikes per minute. And then my parlay is going to be Jack Della Maddalena, Justin Tafa, and Yair Rodriguez is going to be my
Yair Rodriguez. I like that.
Yeah. I just think that kickboxing is going to get it done ever so slightly, but yeah, man. That Jack Della Maddalena, man. We talked about him. He's got 8.5 significant strikes landed per minute. And he's going up against Randy Brown, who's got those really good wild kicks and that reach advantage of 5-inch. But, Maddalena is just one of those guys, super composed, right? Fights like he's like a vet, just super, super smart. And he's only 26. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's one of those prospects, man.
Young Mark Hunt.
Yeah.
Mark Hunt Jr.
At 170 pounds. And, man, he's got such a bright future, and just when you see he really feels like the evolution of the sport, because like you see so many fighters that are great strikers that have good boxing, good kicks and stuff, but you don't see their defense usually. People don't talk about UFC fighters for their defense.
No.
I mean, the one fighter you talk about for
Dominic
defense,
Cruz.
maybe Dominic Cruz, right?
Yeah.
But Dominic Cruz really had an awkward defense. He would just be kind of lunging in and out. It wasn't really technical. It wasn't technical at all.
His movement.
I think that even Dominic Cruz, who's a guy who defended his belt 8 times or so at 135 pounds, even the legend like Dominic Cruz would admit his defense was not technical. It was very different and unorthodox.
Yeah.
And you look at someone like Maddalena, Della Maddalena, and you go like, wow, look at that perfect technique on his boxing defense. Look at that, the way he tucks his chin, the way he's able to counter perfectly, and he sees everything but has a tank-like defense with his arms on his head. It's just amazing. Just the way he goes about business. He is clinical in the way that he fights, and he's a great guy to emulate for any person who wants to learn how to box and how to fight correctly as far as his technique. So that's our both of our locks actually.
Yeah, Jax, he's just gonna get him out of there.
And the crazy thing, every fight, and every year he's gonna get better and better, and you can just see, man, he's gonna add some more speed to his punches. Right now he has the power. He's gonna add the speed. He's gonna add just that extra. Maybe exactly, dude. If he added in some takedowns in there, it would just be like, dude, he
just feigning the takedown. Yeah. They're afraid of it. That'd be dangerous.
Damn. And then, imagine him with his thudding power, with his punches on the ground and pound. It would just be like, he'd be getting so many finishes in so many different ways. Parlay. So Tyson Pedro, what do you like about him? He's the main event of the prelims.
The reason it's who he's fighting.
Yeah.
Modesto Bukakis.
Yeah.
Am I saying that right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He's just been losing too much.
Got you.
And getting knocked out sometimes as well. And Tyson Pedro, even though he's not like a top tier fighter, he's staying in fights. He's not losing as much, and that's the reason why I'm picking Tyson
and the Crute Menifield, you're picking inside the distance because someone's getting finished, right? Because they both put themselves in harm's way and really go for the finish.
Yes. So and also Menifield gasses out.
Got you. So if he gasses out, he's gonna get finished.
Crute just has too much power and too much talent too.
Right.
He's young. I'm not gonna pick Crute, but like one of those two is gonna knock you out a person out.
Exactly. It's a great chance for a live bet. Great inside the distance bet. I love it. And then of course Jack Della Maddalena to round it out. Phenomenal.
It's just too easy not to pick him.
Jack Della Maddalena's on mine, and then I got Justin Tafa. We just think that we picked him as well, both of us, and for me he's on my parlay because he just has the crisper, stronger power punches than his opponent Parker Porter, and it's just going to be boxer versus boxer, and you got to go with the guy with the cleaner, most powerful strikes, who's going to stand and throw, and he can counter, whereas Parker can't. So it's just a self-explanatory, nice win.
So one last time, my lock is Jack Della, Maddalena.
Mm-hmm.
My parlay is Tyson Pedro, Jack Della, Maddalena. And in the distance between Jimmy Crute and Alonso Menifield.
Yep, and for my picks, this is backhand here. I got Jack Della Maddalena for my lock of the night, just like Lousy over there. And then for my parlay, I've got Jack Della Maddalena. I've got Justin Tafa, who I just talked about, and then Yair Rodriguez. Just Yair Rodriguez got the kickboxing versus Emmett with just the boxing, so that's basically why I'm going with Yair Rodriguez to round out that parlay. Thanks for listening, guys. Had a blast talking, drinking.
This is a great fight.
This is such a fun pay-per-view. That main event with Makhachev Volkanovski is just going to be epic. And look forward to the next podcast.
Comment,
see you guys.
Subscribe, like, have some fun with it.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.